Okay, so starting at the gate as usual, just having a look at my woodland border. Oh, there's me. The sun is terrible for videoing, but what you might notice there is I've got a new rose. I have this little, if you can see it here, I have this little gap there which nothing will grow in. I don't know why, and I've put a rose in there to see if that will work. It was on the dead and dying rack at the local big box store, so I got it for a very good price. The other thing, again, this sun is not ideal, but if you can see here, can you see this plant here? I couldn't for the life of me figure out what it was, and then I remembered that the neighbour had given me some bulbs, some lily bulbs that she didn't want, that she'd been gifted, and I just bung them in there, and they've obviously come up, so I'm very excited to see what happens there. The calla lilies are going over now because it's time for a change, and soon the winter rose will come out and the calla lilies will disappear. And then looking over at the Espalier, we've still got some apples hanging on over here. I don't know if you can still see them through here. There's some apples just here. They're still on there, but I imagine they should be harvesting pretty soon. The other Espalier apples down there, this one here, this tree just here, the apples, there was a few apples on there and they have been harvested. One of them dropped off and I thought, great, let's eat them now. So they were delicious, so they were really good. The pears are not producing yet. They've been in what, two or 3 years now, so hopefully maybe they'll produce next year. Hello chickens, chickies, what you doing? What you doing? Oh, what you got? Nothing for you. Yes. So the chickens are all very keen and working on the compost for next year. And down here you'll notice that that lemon there that I'm fan training is working really well now. I've spent a little time thinning out the branches I didn't need and tying it onto the fence, and I think it's coming along really nicely, so pleased about that. I took the hollyhocks out because they were too big. They were down here and they were just enormous. So I've planted some extra herbs there because the tarragon had died anyway, so I replaced that, and I moved, the thyme had died under the hollyhocks, and I had another bit around the corner, so I moved that. So that's looking a bit better. And just backing up here, the lavender border is going quite nicely. I'm really quite pleased with that. I mean, obviously it's been a dreadful year for lavender, but they're coming on quite well, given that they've only just been bunged in now. So pleased about that. I think they will be happy there. Yes, I do. Anyway, let's have a little look through the kitchen garden. I have had so many rambucante. I am just drowning in rambucante, or they're also called tromboncinos. And you can see there I've got an immature one, the long green one, and then I've got a couple that are going orange there, which I'm leaving to mature, because if they mature, apparently they're like a butternut squash, and at the moment we've been eating them immature, like the green one that you can see over there, and we've been eating them more like a courgette. So and for soup, they're delicious for soup, so they're going quite well. The garden is a mess because it's sort of the end of season, but you know these courgettes that last time, a couple of videos ago, I was talking about taking out? Well, they have come into their own and they are fruiting again. They are starting to really produce courgettes, so I'm really pleased I didn't rip them out. I just need to trim the bottom leaves off there again. You can see this one at the bottom is looking a little bit mildewy, and generally I prune the leaves up to the lowest fruit, and then the upright ones that are above that tend to be really healthy. And you can also see now what's starting to happen with the way I grow my courgettes is that I don't know if you can see that, but you see how the stalk is bending around? And it will just sort of keep bending, and then I will keep tying this up further up this waratah, and it will just keep bending and it will keep producing and keep going. So yeah, that's how I work it. The aubergines down below are looking reasonably healthy. They've got lots of flowers on them, but we've only had one aubergine. So I do seem to do better with the aubergines when they're in the conservatory. So I think next year I might just leave them in the conservatory. We've got lots of flowers. I've got, all of a sudden, all the flowers have started to go a bit mad. So we've got nasturtiums coming out. We've got the cosmos, all the flower seeds that I put in earlier in the season and just didn't come to anything. Now they're all romping away. So really pleased with that. Yeah, so everything's starting to grow quite happily now. Really late in the season, but we've got some sunshine. It's not too wet. Some things have come back, and some things are ready to be taken out. And I've got some new beans sown in there as well. The brassicas are still not looking terribly happy, but you know, that's to be expected. And I will soon be clearing these beds out for my my winter crops. So yeah, all change. The tomatoes now are pretty much over, but I do still have tomatoes. You can see some over there, some really big beefsteak tomatoes, which are growing beautifully. So I'm not taking these out yet because, as I said, they are still producing fruit. A really large cosmos in there that's quite happy inside this enclosure. The carrots are coming on well. We've got the chards doing well there, and the leeks. Do you remember in a few videos ago how sick and sad the leeks were, and they were covered in aphids? They are now looking so much happier. Well, the ones that survived, some of them just rotted off and got so sad they haven't come back, but some of them now are looking quite perky, so that's great. And we've got the basil's pretty much done, but I'm always surprised how long basil goes on for. I keep taking cuttings of them, chop them up in the food processor, bit of olive oil, and put them in the freezer, and then they last all year round, basically. The peppers are still producing and quite big plants now, so quite pleased with that. But I think, again, what I might do is unearth them, some of them, chop them back, and try and overwinter them in the conservatory. Carrots are doing really well, as I said. There's some chard over there. Look, I don't know if you can see. Those tomatoes in the corner, they were chopped right back because they died. No, they haven't died. They're coming back. They're coming back for another attempt. So I'm leaving them with it. And there's some beetroot back there as well. There's peppers all over the place. I don't know if you can see some there hiding amongst. Let's having a look around through here. I've been planting some new lettuces through here, and I'm actually going with red lettuces. Oh, that's not good. You can see my shadow. Now, this is going to be difficult to do, but hopefully you can see there are some bright red lettuces. And what I've found is the birds don't attack the lettuces when they're red. So really excited about that. Those ones over there, oh, I don't know if you can see them. Let me see if I can get in closer. These ones over here are a bit red. And they've had a little bit of attack, but not much, not much. So we're getting lots of lovely lettuce now. And over here the same. I've got rocket in there, and I've also got lettuce there. But look there, you see that is being a bit eaten, that one, because the greener it is, the more it seems to be eaten. Where they're red, they don't seem to be bothered. So that's quite interesting. The pumpkin, oh dear, it's still going on. I've got pumpkins where you wouldn't believe. I mean, they're all over the place. The beans are definitely finished, but they're covered in pumpkin. So at the moment, oh, we're having a lot of noise today, aren't we? I've got a helicopter now. Oh dear. Okay, I think I'm just going to have to speak loudly because I've got a helicopter, I've got building work, and I've got cars coming past. So anyway, I don't think you can see here, but the beans are coming back. Can you see down there? They all died off, and they really got hammered. Rust with a salt wind, all sorts, and they sort of pretty much died off. But I'd harvested pretty much most of them anyway. But now they're coming back. Look at all that new growth. So I don't know. This year has been a very, very strange year. Anyway, we've got tomatoes, big tomatoes in there, and yeah, the pumpkin, there's a bus now. I'm blighted today, aren't I? But you see, look, these pumpkins are still trying to have pumpkins. So, I don't know. I'm just leaving them to do their thing. And the beans I'm harvesting as we go along. And there's some chard in there. Yep, all still growing. And over here in Germany, you can see I have these enormous Cavallo Nero. These have been the absolute star of the garden, apart from the Rambicante. These leaves have just been beautiful and clean, and they have just kept pumping away. I've been leaving them to wait for the flower heads because they're delicious. But so far, no, they're just getting taller and taller and taller. So I don't know if you can see how tall some of these are. They just keep going. So I don't want to take them out because they're a wonderful source of food. So yeah, leaving them there. These are my late tomatoes, and they are really still pumping away. I'm still getting lots of lovely tomatoes, and they're still growing up, up, up. So that's exciting. I've got some new brassicas coming in there. There's a little one there. I've got some leeks which probably need to come out, and some weeds. Look at that. Well, they're plants, good for the soil, so I'm leaving them there. The corn definitely needs to come out now. We harvested and ate the last of the corn just a couple of nights ago, so they're ready to come out. I really need to get out. I'm going to have a gardening day tomorrow, but I wanted to get this video up today. So you're seeing it in all its unweeded, unsorted glory, because it's a mess really at the moment. But tomorrow I'm going to get out here and clear up a whole load of the garden and plant some more seedlings, because I've got beans coming, lots of beans, all sorts of bits and pieces everywhere. So let's have a look at Park Square. Excuse the wind, I hope it's not too intrusive. So I have got some rather cool pumpkins. Do you remember that bag of the neighbour's old grass clippings, which was essentially compost, that we dragged over and we put in that bag? Well, I threw in some out-of-date pumpkin seeds, and can you see the pumpkins? We are getting pumpkins. Quite a few pumpkins all over the place. Look, and there's some little bees. Hello, little bees. What do you look? There's a whole bunch of them in there. There's a whole bunch. So we're getting pumpkins. It's really messy. The whole garden is really messy. That's just how it is this time of the year. My kumara there are looking sad, a bit eaten, but I don't know what's under the soil. They weren't, of course, supposed to be in there all season, but you know, life. So they are. They're still in the bucket. And likewise with my yams, they're not looking brilliant, but you know, who knows what's in the bucket? We'll have to see. In our food forest, you can see now that the bananas, they're still there. They're doing really well. Still don't know when to harvest them. There's a second bunch over there, so really pleased that it's producing, but it's getting really congested in there, and we're supposed to only have 3 stalks, and at the moment I would swear we've got about 8. Once the stalks that are producing the bananas have finished, I'll harvest the bananas and then chop down those stalks, and at that point I'll see what's left and do a little bit of a rationalization, because it's a little bit crazy in there. The elderberry I had to give a bit of a hack to so I could get in to prune the plum the other day, and I don't know if you can see, hopefully it's not glaring too badly, but I've chopped back now that big shrub that was hanging over the fence and getting in the way of the plum. So that's all chopped back now and ready to kick off again next year. And the elderberry, I am waiting till it basically drops all its leaves, and then I will give that a really hard prune right back to the fence. And then it will come away again next year and produce lots of lovely berries like it did this year. Now we have more light. The wild strawberries are really kicking off, and they're doing wonderfully. So the wild strawberries there, they're starting to flower and they're looking really pretty. And I've got a bit of pumpkin in there, there's some rhubarb, and then of course still the lemongrass is there. And I have my seedlings going in my cold frame here. They're just covered with a bit of frost net because we've actually got quite cold the last couple of nights. And also I like to keep the butterflies off. So let me just uncover this. So there you can see my seedlings, and those I will be putting out, probably a bunch of those will be going out tomorrow when I have a gardening day. There's chard and various brassicas and some more lettuce and bits and pieces. So yeah, I'll put those out tomorrow. They really need to get in the ground. And I also have some more seedlings which need to be pricked out and go into the cold frame. They're sitting in the conservatory at the moment. Oh, I should show you my random grape. So look at that up there. Can you see that? That's a pumpkin. That pumpkin has come all the way across the marquee. It has come across Crystal Palace, and it's come from this pumpkin bed. Somewhere on this pumpkin bed where it started or where it's still attached. So I have a pumpkin up there. It's taking over. Look, I don't know if you can see. It's going all the way across the pergola. Look, and there's 2 new young fruit trying to grow there too. So, oh, you know, live and let live. I just leave it there. The grape is pretty much over now. It's tired and the leaves are dropping. So that's sort of the finish of the season, I think. And again, my strawberries, I've had 1 or 2 extra strawberries. They're doing much better in this planter box, this grow pod, which has a little bit of a water reservoir underneath it. They're not happy in those pots. I think it's just too dry and they're not happy. They're doing okay in the wheelbarrow, but they have been taken over somewhat by this pumpkin, which is growing up and over there, but it has a pumpkin on it, so I'm leaving it there. The citrus grove is looking quite cool, and we have quite a number of fruit coming. I didn't see them growing, but now they're starting to turn colour. You can see that we've got quite a number of fruit coming, so that'll be exciting, quite tasty. Nothing so much on the lime that I can see. I understand it's reasonably difficult to grow limes, so that might just be a pretty tree. And weirdly enough, nothing on the orange at all this year. So yeah, nothing hiding that I can see, but again, if it goes orange, we might find an orange there. I don't know if you can see it in the bee hotel. We've actually had quite a number of little creatures moving in and actually excavating and filling in the holes. So very excited about that. When you sit and watch them, it's quite fascinating. The raspberries are coming along nicely, and we are getting raspberries. I don't know if you can see those. But the star of the show has been the blackberries, really. I don't know if you can see there. I've got the nets on because the birds have been coming and nicking my blackberries, but we've got quite a few blackberries coming, and boxes of them in the freezer, so that's been really nice. My succulent gardens are coming on well as well. So yeah, they've done really well from tiny little bits that I just poked in the gutters. That was the tiniest little bit, and now it's just a beautiful lime green colour and really spreading. And look at this here, this is just lovely. It's coming over the edge, so I'm very pleased with that. I've got some new little cuttings in there in the bottom, and hopefully they will spread out and fill over the space as well. And the succulent gardener in the little dish, that's doing really well too. The things that haven't been doing too well is this is a black currant, and that really hasn't done well, and I think part of it's dead. I mean, obviously we've got some leaves still, so some of it's still alive, but some of it is definitely dead. So yeah, I'll give that a bit of a prune this year and see what happens. If it doesn't perform, it'll have to come out. And again, the Worcesterberry, that's a bit of an ask as well, but it's in the corner. It's got leaf. It's been doing okay, but no fruit this year so far. So we will see how it's doing. The wildlife pond is being taken over by ground cover, but that's looking rather nice, and it's very busy, and there's lots of things living in there and enjoying it, so that's fun. And all the ground cover is working really nicely. The Chilean guava is really putting on some weight. It's growing beautifully, so I'm pleased with that. And the camellia. The camellia seems to be happy as Larry, so that's great. 2 plants that seem to be happy in this space. Jacqueline de Prey, that's that rose there. It's really beautiful, but I'm going to move her this year because I want to see more of her, and I don't think she is at her best in that little spot. She has such lovely, lovely flowers, and I'm just not seeing them enough, so I'm going to move her. Hopefully she'll survive the move. That rose there, which is Dublin Bay, is definitely coming out this year. It has not done anything again, and that was its final chance. So yeah, something else needs to go on that spot. I'm looking for a rose, much like the rose that I have up there. That one is Madame Alfred Carrière, and it's just beautiful, and it works brilliantly and is so prolific. So I'm looking for something similar for this post here. So if anybody's got any ideas of a rose that can basically be planted in there and go all the way up to the pergola, top of the pergola, and climb along the front, do please put suggestions in the comments box below, because yeah, I really need to find something new for that spot. The marquee will be coming down pretty soon, just waiting for those final tomatoes to ripen, and then that will come down. I can't take it down yet because of course the tomatoes are on strings that are hung from the top of the marquee. So yeah, as soon as they're all harvested and indoors, I shall take that down. So yeah, it's feeling very much like the end of the season. Things are sort of, yeah, they're tired. I think that's the word. It just sort of feels like a change of guard is required. So tomorrow I'll be out and I'll be doing some clearing, planting some brassicas, and getting ready for winter. Do you remember the snail vine that was in the conservatory? A funny little plant that was there for ages, and it was last year, at the end of last year, it decided to germinate, and then I had a pot in the conservatory with the snail vine all over the winter, and I popped it out. It has romped away. It has really enjoyed that spot. It hasn't flowered. I don't suppose it will this year. But yeah, I'm really excited that it's found its space. So that's nice. Beautiful, beautiful autumn day. Really, really lovely. See you next time.